What is up, everybody? Excited to talk some UB basketball and also UMass going to the MAC. It's been a while since we've done one of these bullet point 716 shows. Obviously, the basketball program, the men's team, has not done the way we have come to expect from them this year. But just want to talk a little bit about them first. It's been a struggle this year. It has not been a great season overall at 4-23. They have not really gotten much done. 2-12 in conference play in the first year under George Halkovich, but did want to give them some props in their recent games. They've won 2 of their last 4. They beat Georgia Southern, and then recently they got a conference win over Eastern Michigan. I know a lot of people have been asking me, are there issues fixable? Are there things that they can improve upon? I do think with the men's basketball program, things will get better in time. I think it's going to be a long rebuild. Recruiting is going to play a huge role in whether this team can turn things around in the near future or not. When it comes to the roster, there's a lot of older players that really aren't going to be part of the long-term future with UB. Cy Chapman, their star, he's not going to be around much longer. But I am encouraged by some of the younger players. This team has been playing harder lately for Coach Halkovich, and I am encouraged on that front. This team could have given up on the season a long time ago. The fact that they have won 2 of the last 4 is encouraging for me. And then I want to give props to the women's team as well. Right now, they are 15-10 overall. They're 8-6 in conference play, and they have a star. I don't know what it is about UB women's basketball, but they just generate stars all the time. There was Sierra Dillard, then Daisha Fair, and right now they have Chelia Watson, who is 23 points a game, 5.6 rebounds, 3 assists. She is a machine in the MAC. She is one of the top players in the conference and one of the top players in mid-major college basketball. So UB women's basketball is a team to look out for lately. As we get closer to Cleveland, they will be part of the MAC tournament down there, unlike their male counterparts. And also want to give some credit to Daisha Fair. She recently became the 5th leading scorer in NCAA women's basketball history. So great accomplishment for her. But really the reason I'm doing this stream right now is because of UMass sports coming to the MAC, not just for football, but for all sports. This came out of nowhere. I know that the Mid-American Conference had wanted to add UMass for all sports more than a couple times. It just never happened because when you have UMass and you're playing the Atlantic 10 basketball, why would you drop down to the MAC? And what this really all comes down to, how the MAC was able to get UMass, it's about football. Basically, once UMass became a D1 football program, they came to the MAC for football only. After a little while, the MAC basically said, if you don't want to bring your teams here, figure it out independent. And now UMass is at the point where they've been in D1 independent held for a few years. They don't like it. It hasn't been beneficial for them, and they were going to have to join a conference one way or another. They were probably looking at Conference USA in the MAC and trying to figure out which one would be better. I think the MAC obviously makes more sense geographically for UMass. And now you have the Mid-American Conference adding a school that's in the top 90 in the metrics overall in KenPom, net rankings. And this is going to vastly improve MAC basketball. And I don't think this is a solo move either. I think the MAC is still looking to add. I would not be surprised to see the MAC go after Western Kentucky and try to add them into the fold as well. Now, what are you adding with UMass? Well, you're adding a program that hasn't really been great the past decade, but they do have a history of success. They've been to a Final Four in the 90s under John Calipari. They've had plenty of NCAA tournament appearances. You got to go basically back a decade plus to really see them performing at a high level under guys like Travis Ford, Derek Kellogg. Frank Martin, though, their head coach, familiar name for many people. He was at Kansas State, led South Carolina to a Final Four. So now that you have a program like that coming to the MAC, it's going to be a lot more exciting for this conference going forward. In recent years, it's been all Akron, Kent State. Before that, basically UB running things, going to the NCAA tournament 4 out of 5 years. Now, when you look at this conference, granted a down year, one where they're near 24th in KenPom as a conference, you now have UMass, Akron, Kent State, Toledo, Ohio, and when UB returns to form, like I think they will, you have Buffalo in the mix. And if you can get a Western Kentucky, you're looking at a really solid mid-major college basketball conference. I know people in the A-10 are going to look at it and say, oh, this is a horrible move for UMass. What are you doing? Your revenue sport is going to be struggling. You're not a part of their geographic footprint. And there's some solid basis for A-10 fans to be upset. But if we're being real right now, UMass did this because they needed to help out their football program. That's the resume sport. That's the money sport. And they're trying to help out their money teams right now. And if you look at A-10 basketball overall too, if we're being real, it just has not been to that same standard in recent years. The A-10 and the MAC, yeah. The A-10's here, the MAC's down here. But you look at it, the A-10 doesn't have teams like Temple anymore. They don't have Xavier. Dayton is always a risk to bowl for the Big East or another conference at some point in the future. Same with VCU. So the question, if you're UMass, is we're seeing the A-10 decline a bit. It's not generating 4 or 5 bids like it has in the past. What are we doing in this league still when we need to help out our football team? And I think that's where the MAC came in handy. And I think it's going to be a good move for both UMass and the MAC because, like I said, the Minutemen program, they needed to help themselves out football-wise, and the MAC needed improvement basketball-wise. How's the perception of this going to be looked at? How are people on the outside going to look at this? I think most people are going to be wondering what the hell UMass is doing. I think that's going to be the perspective of most basketball fans. They're going to feel like this is giving up on a program. And I get it. I get it. Frank Martin's your head coach. You just made a big name coaching hire a few years ago. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to be able to keep their recruiting class? They were finally building some momentum. What's going to happen going forward? I don't know, but I am excited for the Mid-American Conference and what this means going forward. Now, speaking a little bit more about UB, I do want to get into things a little bit. I talked about how they're 4-23 overall. Well, KenPom, they're 348th in the country. There's only 362 teams in Division I college basketball. This has been one of the bottom years in UB basketball history. When you factor in that the only seasons that were really worse since they returned to D1 were the original few seasons when they made that leap back to D1. This is arguably the worst season of their history in the modern era of UB basketball. But why am I not pissed off? Why am I not freaking out? It's more so because coming in, the expectations were low, and we knew they needed some time to fix the issues they were dealing with. George Halkovich didn't come into UB to make them an instant contender. He didn't come to UB to bring them to what Oats was day one. He needs time. He needs patience. These kids are young. And you look at just all the players that UB has lost in recent years. Curtis Jones excelling at Iowa State right now. David Skogman doing well down at Davidson in the A-10. They lost another transfer to Dayton last year, their freshman forward. So this program has been devastated by transfers. And they took the youth route this past offseason, going after many high school recruits rather than going after a lot of P5 transfers and building that way. Now, that I was a little bit questionable what the strategy was there. But the fact is, going in, I thought this was going to be a 5 to 10 win team. At 4-23, they still have a chance to get 5-6 wins. It's going to be tough with their remaining schedule. They play Kent State, Toledo, Ohio, and Northern Illinois. They're likely going to go 1-3 in that stretch. probably finish 5-26. But this is what UB fans need to focus on this offseason. What is the recruiting strategy? Are they going to continue to go after high school level guys? Are they going to go heavily in the transfer portal? Will they target JUCOs? And how the answers to this will help you project this team going forward is it'll give you an idea of the strategy, the long-term strategy of UB basketball. If they continue to recruit high schoolers and young players, it's going to tell you that UB is trying to take a longer-term approach here, where they're not trying to go for a quick fix. They're focused on development and coaching up their brand of basketball. If they go after JUCOs heavily and transfers heavily, it's going to send the message, this was unacceptable. They know that they need to turn things around quickly. So keep an eye out on that, because that's going to be the biggest thing going forward. Will they be able to target high-level recruits? What's going on with their NIL situation? Has it improved in the past year? I don't know the answers to that right now, but that's something definitely to pay attention to. But let's hope they can finish strong. Obviously, Kent State, Toledo, Ohio, that's a murderer's row stretch for UB, especially this team during their struggles right now. And then the women's basketball team, like I said, they're right in the middle of things right now. They're playing really well. Watson has been one of the best players in the country. So a lot to be excited on the women's side of things. I think that is a team that in the next year or two, you could see contending and taking that next step in the Mid-American Conference. But like I said, I just wanted to have a quick one-on-one, go over the state of things with UB, UMass. It's been a while. If anybody has any questions or anything that they want to talk about in the future, please continue to comment on the page. Throw those questions at us. We are still paying very close attention to everything UB. It's just been, like I said, a very difficult time for the money sports with UB Sports, and we're trying not to be too critical. I know there's been some anger in the fan base over the athletic director, Mark Allnut, and his future in Buffalo. I know there was anger about how Maurice Linguist left. Actually, probably some more people happy than upset, but still the fact that he left the program and basically decided to bolt before anything could get worse for the UB program. Because let's be real, Maurice Linguist, he was probably coaching for his job this next season. And then obviously just all the tough losses in recent years. Felicia Leggett-Jack going to Syracuse, Nate Oates to Alabama, Lance Leipold to Kansas. It's like we've been cheering on all of our guys having success at all these other schools when we've been missing it at UB in recent years. And something needs to change. They need to get this stuff going and figure it out. But I don't want to focus too much on that. That's something for another night. But appreciate everyone that tuned in for this quick 15 minutes. We're going to get a more in-depth look at UB men's basketball when this season closes. I'll talk a little bit more about which players I'm excited about going forward, what I thought about George Halkovich's first year with the program, and then we're going to talk more about the women's program once they get to Cleveland and they're in the MAC tournament. So appreciate everyone tuning in, and go Bulls.